Well, we're very pleased with the court's imposition of sentence in this case today. We're hopeful that it will bring closure to this community and to this case. We're hopeful that it will send a clear message of deterrence to others who would engage in violent extremism that rips our community apart. I think it's timely in terms of what's been all over the news lately about young people being radicalized to go overseas to fight for extreme and radical causes. It shows how easily this can happen right in our own backyard, even with a young man who comes from a good family and is a good student and goes to OSU. That this can happen anywhere in America. This isn't a New York problem. This isn't a Chicago problem. It's really an international problem. We've got to stop this extremist ideology. I would say that 30 years sends a serious message. It's a strong and severe sentence. This case has been devastating to the community, to Portland, to the defendant's family, and we're hopeful that everybody can move on and get closure now that sentencing is completed.
The family said that this case started as a result of them calling the FBI concerned for the defendant's well-being, and they say that because of the sentence, there is now a message being sent that once they call out of the concern for an individual, something like this could happen.
Well, I understand the family's concern, and if my son were just sentenced to 30 years, and if I had to go through the ordeal that they have gone through, I'm sure that I would have very strong beliefs and it would be very upsetting to me. I would say that that doesn't comport itself with the facts that were presented at trial. That is, was presented at trial clearly. There was other investigation going on prior to the fathers going to the FBI. We know that Muhammad was communicating on a regular basis with radicals overseas, including Samir Khan, starting at about the age of 15, who was being radicalized on the internet. Those are the findings that the judge made today in the imposition of sentence. And those acts occurred well before there was any contact between the father and the FBI. So I certainly appreciate the devastation that this defendant's parents feel. Again, I'm a mother, so I get it. But I would say that there was quite a history of radicalization, writing for extremist publications, advocating jihad, attempting other acts, including going overseas to fight with brothers, long before any ever FBI agent ever made contact with this defendant.
What about the mother's opposition to the fact that he was given money and that he was told to not contact his family? What do you say to her?
What I would say to that, I mean, that really goes along with the argument that was made by the defense about the imperfect entrapment mitigation. And just as Ethan Knight said today at sentencing and also in his closing argument at trial, I feel like that takes an incredibly pessimistic view of youth, of any 19-year-old. Now, we know that 19-year-olds are susceptible. We see that in the criminal justice system every day. We see young men committing all kinds of reckless crimes, whether it's drunk driving or statutory rape or drug use, all of the reckless driving, theft. And you might look at those kids and say they're 19, they're impressionable, they went along with the crowd. But to suggest that anybody could be entrapped into killing 10,000 men, women, and children at a Christmas tree lighting is incredibly pessimistic. If we really think that that is normal because of youth and being impressionable, then I think we live in a really scary world. And I'm a person who did child welfare law for 10 years before walking into this building, so I understand about impressionable youth. But making a suggestion to somebody or giving them money to rent an apartment or giving them compliments, I don't think there are many 19-year-olds, or at least I'd like to believe there are not many 19-year-olds in this country or anywhere else in the world that would feel induced by that to push a button twice to brutally murder 10,000 people. Are very large and are very important for good reason. You're balancing the rights of the defendant, the Constitution, all of the things that go into litigating a large-scale trial like this but also you're dealing with a lot of confidential information.
we need to be working on people skills.
There's a lot of hearings that are trying to balance the national security
This is no way
of
around
the
it.
government collecting information with what we need to ensure that the defendant has a fair trial and that his constitutional rights are defended. So that means that there's just much more intense litigation that's more complicated in cases like this
Loving, sharing,
than
and
your
caring.
run-of-the-mill murder case or even a financial fraud case. That said, this is
We don't need it in our town.
a fantastic example of something that this administration has been trying to do, which is bring these cases out of the darkness into the light of day, into a public court, and try them, giving the defendant the full benefit of their constitutional rights that any bank robber or any white-collar criminal would have in the court of law. And so the fact that we're able to do this in the United States, that we're able to have a public trial on a terrorism case and bring this type of evidence out publicly to show people what's really going on, that the defendant has the opportunity to defend himself, that it's open to the press, I think it's a great showing of our college of criminal justice system. You know, my hope is that it tells them, you know, my hope is that it says, for one, you're not going to get away with it, but for two, I mean, I would listen to the words of the defendant. I mean, I think he said it well. That's why that, you know, he renounces his views now. That he's sorry for what he's done to the community now. I hope that that's accurate, and I'm hopeful that he'll go on both while he's incarcerated and after he's released from incarceration to carry on the promise that he made today in terms of being productive citizens for the community. But this radicalization, extremism, and targeting our youth by terrorists is absolutely the scariest thing that's happening in our
It's
world.
upsetting.
The fact that we've got U.S. citizens, British citizens,
It's probably one of those every day, yeah.
There's always someone there to let you know that they take your kindness for weakness. It's not very nice to hurt someone and bully people and hurt them for no reason.
In the name of ISIS or ISIL or other terrorist organizations is absolutely devastating, and it's devastating to the parents. You can see the effect on Muhammad's parents today. This is not what they wanted for their son. They came here to make a better life for him. They're hardworking, law-abiding members of our community right here in Portland, as so many Somali immigrants are. And this is so devastating that people come here to make a better life and give their children different opportunities and get their children away from this type of extremism. But then because of the internet and because of the spread of the ability to radicalize and the targeting of youth, people fall prey to it. And so, you know, I would say that there was one thing that was said today that I strongly disagreed with, and that was when I think there was a statement, and I may have just misunderstood it, that at the core of this is a case about religion. I strongly disagree with that, because just as the defendant said, Islam does not teach radical extremism. Islam does not teach murder and violent attacks on innocent people. And Islam, very much like Christianity and Judaism, is based on peace and comes from the same original text. And so I don't think at its core this is a case about religion. At its core this is a case about a profound bastardization of a beautiful, peaceful religion. And I know that many of members of the Muslim community spend much of their days denouncing this type of violence and denouncing the radicalization of youth and working hard in communities to make sure that you are not susceptible to this type of indoctrination that is launched by forces. So I don't think at its core this is a case about religion. I think at its core this is a case about somebody making a very bad choice. And it's also a case about the FBI doing phenomenal work to disrupt a plot that would have resulted in the death of very many people.